Hey, so after 16 years, I'm finally calling it quits. I'm getting off Facebook. I got on it Halloween 2004. Again, 2004. I mean, if you're watching this, odds are, let me know in the comments if you got on before that. I mean, not like I'm trying to set a record or anything, but that is pretty early adopter status. It's been a platform that I've, pretty much my entire adult life, I've been on it since I was 18. Now my birthday is tomorrow, and so I know there might be some extra attention to my page, and it's not to make it about me, but I was intending to get off at the end of this year, but then got caught up doing a lot of things and didn't really have time to make any posts. And I figure if I've spent all these thousands of hours on this platform every day, wasting brain cells on here, that probably should make sense to do a little manifesto type video of everything that is on my mind. And I don't have any notes, I don't have any script other than complaining about Facebook. I didn't really know what I was going to talk about today, but I probably should mention that there are other platforms out there that don't censor you. I'm going to be concentrating my efforts on Flote.app /thelibertyadvisor. I already have over 500 people there, which is over a third of what I have on Facebook. My goal on Facebook was never to be some big Facebook celebrity that everybody wanted to get a piece of. I was underneath fake names up until 2016 when liberals reported me too many times, and then I had to give up my ID. And not only did I have to give Facebook my ID, they had to mail something to my home to then be able to unlock my account to prove that I wasn't a Russian. And this was September 2016 when I first started getting some traction on my page. Then they've made it so I couldn't even pay them to advertise. And leading into the election, from a standstill, I reached over 1 million people the week of the election. Like the day after the election, I reached 800,000 on a single post that then was taken down for copyright infringement from South Park, which I highly doubt the South Park guys probably would have laughed their ass off at it. I doubt they would have actually taken down that post a couple years later. But anyways, it made it so my LibertyAdvisor Facebook page that had 32,000 people following it after 2 months in existence made it so if I post in there, no one can see the videos. Like 30 people can see the video. So what am I wasting my time for? Same thing with the World Alternative Media page. 0.00 nothing. That thing has been reached. And so we are in this world where there's this electronic gulag that has been put around anyone that is not basically a communist. And a lot of conservatives and Republicans, I feel like, have been blind to this. Now, maybe they aren't as much anymore now that El Presidente has been kicked off of Facebook and suspended briefly on Twitter unless he removes certain tweets, like he's 5 years old. And so we're in this situation now where the social media, even if there was legislation to make things fair, well, fuck them. I don't want to be paying my attention. And that's exactly what you're doing. You are paying your attention. The number one thing basically big data is the new oil. And so if they are able to take our information, use that to then sell us things, they are making a shitload of money off of that. And so in the future, there's other platforms, there's things where they don't sell out their user information, Flote.app being one of them. And yes, I was an early investor in it, so I guess there could be a conflict of interest there, but I put money down on it because I believed in it. But I put some money into Minds and put some money into some other smaller platforms as well, and Steam it back in the day. So it's not unique. But when it comes to the censorship issue, when it comes to our data is being weaponized against us. And Cambridge Analytica was one of the big hacks that went on, or it wasn't really a hack, but they were using our data against us, and now they're one of the big investors into Parler. So if you think that Parler is the answer and you didn't find out about the censorship until now, I got news for you. That's not the answer. And I think I made an account over there, but I don't really plan on using it. And it just got to the point where in 2016 I spent so much time trying to help President Trump win that it really put a toll on a lot of relationships I had with people. A lot of people basically haven't spoken with me since. I've been blocked by hundreds of people that I know personally. Basically was one of the contributing factors to marriage falling apart. But at the end of the day, even that, I think has turned out to be blessing in disguise as well. And I don't want to, and the thing is, a lot of things in my life are going really well. I mean, I don't want to make that seem like, woe is me, because a lot of things, I've like pretty much never been happier, but I'm just making this manifesto video, which is going to make it sound like, everything is bad, but it's only because I'm talking about stuff that annoys me. But in actuality, a lot of things are going really, really well in my life, and I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't be thankful. Well, I guess I could be happier if we didn't have an entire pandemic and I could actually travel without having to put a mask on. I'm almost at 6 months without even touching a mask. We're talking not going into a store, nothing. Haven't even touched one. So, we got, I guess, if that wasn't, notwithstanding that, it would be a pretty good thing going on. But, we pay our attention. So our attention is valuable. Right now I appreciate you watching this. That your attention is valuable, and it's valuable. But people that have been watching me have been way ahead of the curve for years. I talked about on Facebook Bitcoin when it was underneath $1,000. I had said that President Trump was going to win and that they're going to blame it on the Russians on video in September 2016, one of the very first videos that I put out. Then I also had said, going back to February of this past year, and I threw literally on stage. You can go to my YouTube channel. So that's another place. Go to thelibertyadvisorshow.com. It's all the places that you guys can find me going forward. You can get on my email list if you want to keep, hearing my rants and being on top of things years ahead of everybody else. But, essentially what is going on is, I guess, getting back to that video, I said on video, and on a presentation in Mexico, I put up, I think, 5 or 6 states on the screen, said, listen, Trump barely won these states. All they need to do is use the voting machines to flip a few votes in a few counties, and voila, he loses. And they didn't have to do that in 2016 because they thought Trump was going to lose no matter what. So the deep state is not going to risk a felony on something that they think is in the bag. And then they still lost a rigged election in 2016, but they were damn sure not going to make sure it happened in 2020. This is exactly how I was talking going back to, pretty much going back the past 3.5 years. And for that, I had all the Q people who were pissed off at me because, I was ruining their parade. Well, guess what? I also had the first fake news list that ever got thrown back to the left and had that go viral. My initials are TTP, trust a plan. So, I have more credentials to be fucking Q than even Q. So I don't even know, but, and I'm not mad at the people who, just learned about the deep state and the globalist and all these other things, and maybe they supported Mitt Romney in 2012 and still didn't get it. But, for those of us who have gotten this for over a decade, it's very frustrating seeing others who should know better, who have known about this stuff for a long time, who then got very famous, promoting all the QAnon bullshit, who then couldn't, even some of them, I think at the end, even knew it was bullshit, but, then, they're hundreds of thousands of followers and fans. Are they going to tell them that and ruin the parade and get ostracized? No, they're not. I've been spending my whole life getting ostracized and being the black sheep, and it would be, I would have been way more popular had Hillary won, and then kept going on with that. But I refuse to basically just support what was going on just because of the fact that I voted for somebody. But my big issues were censorship and what's going on with censorship. It's gotten way worse. Trump talked a big game and had some real tough meetings with some people, but at the end of the day, nothing, came out of it. And now his ass, and I told Josh Segerson this the day before, after January 5th, I told him, listen, Trump's not going to make it past January. He's not going to make it into February on Twitter that they're going to kick him off. And literally the next day they suspended him, and then Facebook did kick him off. So that was, but actually that wasn't my main issue. That was probably the second biggest issue. My first issue, being an end the Fed guy, central banking, the fact that our money is printed up out of thin air by central banks, and then we owe interest to people that never had the money to begin with. It is slavery. So they can print money, borrow it to us, and then use that money to buy up assets. Now we owe them on money they never had to begin with. It's a huge scheme. absolute biggest scheme in the world. But I guess the censorship is maybe even more of an important issue, because I can't expose that issue because nothing was done about censorship. And so ultimately, immediately after the 2016 election, I realized that we have to save ourselves, that, this issue is way too big. A lot of the MAGA people, bless their hearts, they had the right intentions, but, didn't really fully grasp what the problem is. The problem is, it's not like Donald Trump wins and everything is saved. I mean, there's much bigger issues to all this stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of the biggest problems that are out there all got worse underneath them. But, it's an impossible job. He was never going to make me happy. But I would have liked, if not all of my biggest issues, all ended up getting worse. And I even said in my first podcast ever that if there was 1,000 things I wanted him to do, and he did 999, but then didn't use the bully pulpit to then expose central banking and the Federal Reserve, that he was useless for me. And so this has been an abysmal presidency that was very fun to watch and very entertaining. And I liked how he was shit-talking the press and calling them fake news, and basically fell out of bed when he did that 4 years ago, because I was like, holy crap, I had a fake news list that went viral. And it was that very day that started going viral is when Facebook shut me down on the LibertyAdvisor page and basically made it, it's even worse than being shut down because it's still there, but basically, I can't even tag my own post and things, and no one can find things, and I have less followers today than I did 2 months after the page was created. I mean, give me a break. I mean, there's no way, that would happen. So you're saying when nobody knew me, I was somehow able to amass 32,000, but now that I had 32,000 people following me, now no one was able to then find the page again. Bullshit. I mean, this social media has been absolutely weaponized against us, which is why I'm getting off of it. But the bigger issue is not, and it's not about me. It's not, I was very hopeful in 2016 that, hey, I was able to reach all these people, and what if I am able to get like an army of like another 100 people that are like me, and now we're reaching, a third of the country on every fucking tweet. But no, that couldn't happen because the tech oligarchs did not like the fact that we upset their parade in 2016, and they were going to make sure that wasn't going to happen again. And so I had also been advocating that you could secure the election through blockchain, but that's sort of giving legitimacy to voting, because nothing ever changes with voting. You get Republicans controlling everything, and what happens? Everything, get worse. The 2 years, they should have just been running roughshod, doing whatever the hell they wanted to, and they sat through and they wasted those 2 years. And so once I saw that they were not serious about getting stuff done the first 2 years, I was done with them. I didn't have any time for that. We had absolutely no time to waste. So yeah, he, didn't sign got us out of the TPP and got us out of the Paris Climate Treaty, and, did some other good things that I liked. But all this can be reversed in 2 seconds. None of that's permanent. And so there was no permanent foundational changes that were actually made. Other than maybe, exposing globalism and exposing the media, which those were, pretty big transformational things that I do give him credit on, there hasn't really been a lot of transformational changes that will actually last. And so, I do think that this whole presidency was a failure. And the fact that, so many people's emotions ride high on who's going to be president, and everyone's life is so affected. The president, first off, Congress technically should have more power than the presidency, and according to the Constitution they do, but Congress have been lapdogs and just give up all of their power. But the president shouldn't have nearly as much power as he does. And what's the ultimate metric? As a small government conservative, your metric should be, this is me, trying to talk for everybody else, but the metric should be, is government bigger or smaller? And guess what? Government's never been fucking bigger than it is right now. Maybe underneath, FDR, maybe it was bigger. But, and again, FDR was a, quote unquote liberal who then, appointed an actual KKK member to the court, not just like, Joe Biden, who, was only, giving eulogies to a former KKK Grand Cyclops in Robert Byrd. But, I digress, and it's just unfortunate that, everything has basically been squandered, and we, there was a chance, 4 years ago for the first 2 years to do things, but guys like John McCain and other rhinos had to go block everybody, and caught a lot of heat for not supporting John McCain, especially living here in Arizona. Caught a lot of heat for not supporting Mitt Romney in 2012, and a lot of people telling me that I just wasn't smart enough and I couldn't see things. So I will be accepting. It is will be my birthday today on the 9th, so if anyone wants to send me an apology, I will be accepting those all day for the next maybe 11 days I'm on Facebook. But I am getting off on the 20th, and it's not about, even if Trump won, I was already going to get off, because it's the human psyche is not meant to go read through thousands of comments on a single post. Well, I guess I don't have thousands of comments anymore because I'm shadow banned, but it's just not good emotionally to be on there, whether things are going good or bad. It's being weaponized against us. The people that run it hate us and want to basically weaponize it against us and everything that we care for. Not that I'm fully believe in everything that most conservatives necessarily believe in, but I do tend to agree with them more than the liberals, because the liberals aren't really liberals, they're authoritarians, and really on both sides of the equation they're both authoritarianism. So you have collectivism and individualism, and I want to stop all this collectivism, and I don't care if it's Republican collectivism or Democratic collectivism. And basically the Republican collectivism is basically now even worse than what the Democrat was probably 4 or 5 years ago, except now the Democrats have moved even further left. And when you've got somebody like Trump, and he did a lot of good things, but he just did not have the intellectual capacity to realize some of the biggest issues, which are censorship, which was securing the vote, which was the fact that we are slaves because we do not own our own money. And so I'm not even saying even get rid of the Federal Reserve. You guys can do whatever you guys want to do. You're going to get rid of yourselves, which is why now you're going to spin a great reset. And what's going to happen is there's going to be, and this is from a guy that's predicted a lot of crazy shit, including Trump losing because they had rigged those few states, and that he'd win in 2016, and that they blame it on Russia. So I don't know how many people have got a track record like that. Not to brag, it's because I wish people were listening to me so that way we could stop a lot of the bad shit that was going on. Not because, oh, I'm some smart guy, because at the end of the day, I don't want my kids and grandkids and your kids and grandkids to be slaves to all this. But what is going to enslave them is the same freeing technology, and blockchain technology can be the most freeing thing known to man, or it can be the most enslaving known to man. And guess what? Once central banks get a hold of it, Bank of Japan already talking about it, the Chinese are already doing this in beta test programs where, I think a month or two ago they had Shenzhen where they gave out like a lottery to win $30, and I think 2 or 3 million citizens, won the equivalent of $30. And they just had another big city in China do the same thing where I believe same deal, they got $30 and a chance to win, free laundry for a year. That's all it takes. So you get everybody broke, and then you then have some sort of universal basic income, or you get like $1,000 a month. Kamala Harris, as recently as June, has talked about $10,000 a month, and even offered a fucking bill that made it to the floor that talked about $10,000 per month. I did a video on that, actually with Yoshi. So Yoshi, say hi. So we did a video on that with him, I guess in June. So if you want to go back to my channel and watch that, get more details on that. Then they're going to tie this central bank, so it's going to be like a Bitcoin dollar that's going to have almost all the bad features of Bitcoin, and aside from maybe easy use of payment, none of the real good features. And they're going to say, oh, hey, Tim, we saw you talking shit about the government. You're not getting your $1,000 this month. Or guess what? You didn't get the jab. You didn't get the vaccine. You're not getting the $1,000. You're not getting the money, because that is where everything is going. Is that they're going to have a central bank digital currency that is going to be tied into a universal basic income, and that is not even a crazy prediction. Like, I would bet everything on it, everything that is what they're going to do. And now the Democrats are in full control and full power. This is such a dangerous time for everyone. And so even if you're a liberal or a fake liberal and you are thinking how great things are right now and it's a new day for America and you guys are super happy Well, we'll see how happy you are when, basically in the future, when you're not going to be allowed to speak out, when your kids are not going to be allowed to speak out, when your grandkids are not going to be allowed to speak out, because we've sold this country out to basically the authoritarians, and you've got central banks who are basically the modern day slave drivers who fuck things up so badly running things that the system is completely unsustainable. And so I put my bets into Bitcoin, the only asset besides a little bit of silver that I bought last year. And so, for every Bitcoin you own, you've already increased your net worth by $1,000 a day in 2021. So I'm not over here bitching, but I know that most people are not going to be as fortunate as me. And when people are upset, what do? When people are hungry, what do? They go and they riot. They call for higher taxation. They call for more government. They call for more enslavement. And I know that we're going to be at the crosshairs of all these bad things. But you could tax everybody 100% of all their income. You could take everybody, I got this depiction of the sun behind me, but you could take all of everybody's worth and you still could never pay off the debt because the money is debt. In order to get money into the system, technically currency, you have to issue a treasury bill, bond, or note. You don't have to, but the way that it's been set up to gang rape everybody has been set up as a modern day slave system. But they got too big for their britches. They mismanaged it too badly in 2008, the entire time. But essentially we're at this crossroads now where it cannot continue. And so there's going to be a great reset. If you don't believe me, Klaus Schwab has a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset. So in my opinion, what they did was that either it was an accident or maybe it was a mistake. I use that, sort of jokingly, but a coronavirus escaped the Wuhan Institute of Virology at, sometime in 2019. And then the powers that be, once they realized what was going on, realized, hey, this is the perfect thing that we can use to have the Great Reset. And while we're at it, here's all the things we want to do. We want to get a more sustainable environment. Well, it's not really sustainable. They just want to be able to track, trace, and surveil everything you do. They don't give a shit about the environment. They don't give a shit about black people or anything. They just want to use different groups to accomplish their agendas. And so with this Great Reset, they're going for broke, where essentially they're going to make everybody broke. They're going to get everyone to beg for all this, stimulus, and eventually they're probably going to collapse the dollar into some sort of central bank digital currency. So you'll have your dollar, but it'll be like some sort of U.S. Federal Reserve note coin that you'll have, the GoldmanSachs.gov coin. And then what they're going to do from there is they're going to issue it out every month, and they're going to say, hey, if you exchange your, and at first they might not make it mandatory. They're going to incentivize you, like, oh, well, you didn't, if you pay your taxes using this, and we'll give you 5% off or 10% off, or you go and exchange your money into this, and we'll give you 2% interest versus 0.0 whatever at the bank, and then eventually they're going to say, oh, well, now that all the money is digital, we can have a negative 5% interest rate, meaning you've got to spend your money or put it into the stock market. And this is something that is coming very fast, very, very fast. I mean, I really don't think we go another 4 years, and hopefully I don't bust my ass getting down here because I don't have very good shoes on right now for that. But I'm just not really hopeful at where things are going, because I just see the game plan. I understand the game plan. There's too few of us out there. There's too few lions out there that see the game plan. And as you hear, here's the asteroid belt, I guess, is behind me, and talking about how, okay, I guess I thought I was going to talk about Galileo, but Galileo was another guy who, dared to say that the Earth wasn't at the center of the universe, and scientists and the Vatican put him down. And at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people might think, oh, central banking, you're talking about the Jews. Well, I mean, the Vatican runs, I sort of think the Jews are just, sort of the bankers for, and it's not even Jews, it's, people that, use Judaism to their, that has used the religion to accomplish their means. Just like, the average Catholic is not a bad person. I grew up Catholic. Most of my family are Catholics. So, it's the people at the very top. Just like the average American isn't bad. The average, the average politician is bad, but what what our politicians are doing are not the same, and what the people at the top of these banks are doing, like the Vatican Bank and the Bank of International Settlements. I mean, these are people that are just going to whore out whatever religion or people to get other people to fight. And it's not about, the worst religion is statism. It's the worship of government is the most dangerous religion that is out there. And, a plug for, if you haven't read it, Larkin Rose, Larkin Rose book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, gets into all this. So if you're new to all this, I would highly recommend checking that out, and hopefully I can have him on the show relatively soon, because he has a wealth of information, has been in this game a long time. But thinking that the answer is, if we just elect Donald Trump, everything is going to be all right, just shows that you don't have a certain level of understanding of how deep this game really is. Because I supported him fully in 2016, risked a lot to do so, but it wasn't to just bow down to some emperor or laugh at all the funny things he was saying. It was, I wanted some substantial changes to be made, most notably in the currency, most notably in even the Second Amendment too. That was another big issue for me. And he caved on gun control. There's more gun control got passed underneath Trump than Obama did. So as I'm a and I'm not even some big gun guy. I'm not out here shooting all the time. Now it's too expensive to even do that, and you can't even find the ammo. But it's shall not be infringed. And if you are going to ban bump stocks, then maybe you should have get rid of 900 other gun legislation first before you go and do something like that. And that's even start somewhat playing their game. It's a dangerous game. You played a dangerous game there. You played a dangerous game with the vaccines. You played a dangerous game with social media by, saying, you're sitting down with Jack Dorsey and having all these tough talks. Well, fuck your tough talks. Nothing ended up happening. I knew it. I was calling it out at the time, and it was all the Q people who were on my ass saying I didn't know, trust the plan. What they wanted people to do is they wanted to think there's some guy out there on a white horse that has all the answers. Well, guess what? We are the ones who have the answers. Each one of us needs to go and try to save ourselves. And even for the liberals that are out there, like, you guys want to go and do all this climate change stuff? Well, great. Go live off the grid solar power. A lot of us, crazy radical extremists, anarcho-capitalists, a lot of us are trying to, live off the grid, and the government doesn't even make that easy. They ban, collecting rainwater. They don't give you credits for solar if you aren't hooked into the system. They, ban certain, tiny homes, and they make it illegal to live on, through zoning laws, to live in an RV on land. There's so many crazy things that until you actually look into it, you wouldn't even believe that are actually true. And so, the liberals are the ones who are mainly sitting in big cities, and they're, in the most polluted places in America. They support a big government, even though the government's the biggest polluter in the history of the world. And it's just such hypocrisy on so many different levels. And I have had solar power before, and when the last house that I owned, I actually had it through Solar City, so it helped make Elon Musk get up there to the #1 spot in riches. But honestly, the answer to everything is just decentralize everything as much as possible. And the liberals want to centralize all the power. They want to, have one person controlling everything, and then, freak out every time that their person's not in charge, even though more than likely, even if it is a Republican that's not Trump, they're probably on the same team. And so it's just so frustrating seeing this stuff happen time and time again. I guess I'll leave by talking about a little bit about the pandemic. There is something, I just want to say, going into this year, going back to 2014, I had over 60 N95 masks. I had 2 hazmat suits. I gave the N95 masks to my grandparents, and I only have a few of them now. But I had bought some gas masks. I had storable food. I had, colloidal silver and, different vitamins, and I was in good shape already to begin with. And now, and I first wore a mask walking through TSA for my TSA global entry. So I've opted out hundreds of times, and get my balls felt up and all this other stuff. And finally I caved, because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be doing a lot more traveling now. And so my interview was February 19th, and I saw this one girl, Katie Anania, who I saw her wear a mask. I think it was like February 3rd flying through the airport. She posted on Instagram. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty badass. I want to see if I can pull that. And so I wanted to do that for my global entry interview. I've got a video of it on my phone that I was recording, and TSA was pissed at me. So, I mean, I wore a mask before probably 99.99999% of people watching even on Earth. I mean, I guess besides Asia, I guess they were wearing masks ahead of time. Because at the time, I mean, the government, I mean, there's videos of people just dropping dead in China, and I'm like, that's really weird that the government isn't talking anything about this. Maybe something's up with this. And then by March, you know, I quickly realized, you know, it was all bullshit, and this was not something to be super scared about, and all their numbers I thought were wrong. And this is before like even all the lockdowns started. But you know, what I was scared what the human reaction would be in terms of toilet paper shortages and shit like that. No pun intended. But actually, I mean, I bought a bidet in January, the end of January. So, I mean, now I have all these people who think I'm some like unscientific, ignoramus because I don't understand how masks works when I own masks before all they fucking did. I mean, and everyone's like, oh, I hope you go and get sick. Well, you know, I went to Acapulco this year, didn't get sick. Went to Jackalope Freedom Festival with probably 600 people at it, didn't get sick. Went to Red Pill Conference in October with 600 people in an indoor facility that was all close together, didn't get sick. Went to the Porcupine Freedom Festival, you know, with probably 1,000 people at it, you know, didn't get sick. Went to the Fork Fest, which was also part of that, didn't get sick. And I'm sure I probably, you know, went to a bunch of illegal gatherings and, you know, never got sick. So it's not to say that I'm invincible, but I'm also doing things to go on the offense. Like I'm getting tons of vitamin D every day, getting tons of exercise every day, getting good sleep, getting vitamin C, all these other things that they're not telling you to do. And so the biggest part of this fraud actually has to come with how they are actually testing for this. I mean, the creator of the PCR test, Kerry Mullins, who happened to die right before coronavirus became a thing, I think in November 2019, just happened to die, you know. And he even, I mean, this guy like excoriated Fauci, couldn't stand him, and was talking about how, you know, this test was never even designed for that type of application. The guy won the Nobel Prize. So I mean, this is a guy that, you know, by all scientific measures, you know, should be somebody that should be listened to, judging by their own criteria. And and what they're doing is when they test, there's a certain, what they call a cycle threshold, or CT number that they're using, what they amplify the magnification of the result. And so what they're doing is, I mean, basically, I mean, imagine if, you know, you subjectively say, you know, how loud, what's a loud beep? I mean, loud could be different for different people. And so if I was to go beep, 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 you know, that might not be very loud. But now if I turn it up and go beep, 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 and it's still the same beep, but now it's just being magnified, the gain's up. And then if you magnify it at, you know, 35x, it's going to be a really loud fucking beep. If you magnify it at 5x, it might not be very loud. And so what they're doing is they're magnifying this at like 35, 40, 45 cycle thresholds, which is making everything a loud beep. Or in their instance, this would be, you know, basically having the enough coronavirus in their sample to then test positive, even though it's not really testing for an isolated strain of coronavirus. Because now I did hear that they did isolate it a few days ago. I've not actually seen that research. I did have someone that I do trust a lot tell me that, but I haven't actually seen that for myself. But anyways, even if they did, you know, isolate it like a week ago, you know, if you didn't isolate it, you can't pass something called the Koch's postulate, which Koch's postulate is the scientific formula that they use. I mean, Robert Koch was the guy who, you know, basically England's CDC is named after, you know, sort of like, you know, their Fauci, their God over there. And this is not past Koch's postulate to even prove that it is a virus, judging by their own science. And so I'm going off their own criteria. So you can't just change all the fucking goalpost, you know, every single time, you know, something else. I mean, you know, sort of reminds you of the Q people. There's always a new goalpost. Like, oh, it's going to be this day. Oh, no. And then this day comes, and oh, it's going to be that day. And then that day comes. There's always some, you know, greater date that something's going to happen. And so a cycle threshold, I mean, Fauci even said, I think he said above 25 is useless, or maybe it was 30. But anyways, they're running these things at 35, 40. And I guess, I am coming to you from the coronavirus capital of the world, the two-time defending back-to-back coronavirus champions over here in Phoenix, Arizona. Because yes, this summer we were the coronavirus capital of the world, and again this week, back at it, baby. So, you know what? I'm still going out. I'm still, not letting this, still not wearing a mask. But, it's just, so we got the cycle threshold. That's, I mean, that's like the main aspect of it. And then also, I mean, if it's hyped up that, you're gonna, die if you get this, and then you're gonna, make yourself more sick, and you're gonna freak yourself out. When you freak yourself out, you're gonna put yourself into more stress. And when you're in that more heightened, stressed environment, then it's a more likelihood you're gonna get sick. And then when you're wearing a mask, I mean, even if you wanna wear a mask properly, there's certain protocols. I mean, you don't just go and, take your piece of shit fabric and go and crumple it up in your pocket and leave it on, the floor of your car and put it on a table and then use it for 3.5 months straight. And then maybe put it through the washer every now and then. That does nothing. I mean, if you have an N95 mask, you should probably be changing that shit out like every 30 minutes. And so I wasn't gonna go waste. And so if you're using the same stuff over and over and over again, you're basically creating a, this, my dog sees a bunny right now. You're basically creating like a breeding ground for all this, terrible bacteria that's going to get you sick. And then by not taking in deep breaths, the deeper breaths you take, it helps actually take the pH of your blood and actually helps lowers it. Actually helps raise it up to, basically get your body more alkaline as opposed to being acidic, because everything we put in our body basically, I mean, not everything, but all the processed crap that we eat makes our body more acidic. And so it's just so fucking frustrating to see people, who never even basically knew what a mask was, who aren't following proper protocols for even wearing a mask, who are then looking at me like I'm some fucking idiot, when I was the one who wore it before they did, and I was the one who had it stockpiled before they did. And if this was a big concern, I'd be the first person to be out there wearing it, which I was. So man, it really fucking pisses me off. And so it's just, with all these different things that are out there, and I mean, there's just a fraud from so many different levels, and they're just using this to have a great reset. I mean, that is what they're doing. And so what social media does, and what their aspect of this is that they only put out their little blue check marks. They only put out their messages they want to get approved. If you aren't, sucking Fauci's dick and everything, they're gonna basically remove you. We've already been removed on World Alternative Media. I was a contributor for We Are Change for a tiny bit. We got demonetized over there, got demonetized on World Alternative Media even before that. And so, I know exactly how this game works. I know exactly how the censorship works. And what they're ultimately going to do is they use social media to build consensus. And so the average person out there is a follower. The average person out there, they're stuck in the rat race. They don't have time. And since they don't have time, they're just, quickly hearing the news, which is all propaganda. They're quickly, looking at their Facebook feeds, and it's only the stuff that Facebook wants them to see. And it creates this, consensus type environment where if you're going against the consensus, then, there's a big price to pay for going against the consensus. And guess what? There's going to be even a bigger price to pay if everybody goes along with the consensus. And so that's why, they use all these different techniques to basically use propaganda to basically get their message across. And so it's been weaponized against us. And right now, I mean, I'm just done with it. Absolutely done. So you guys want to get on my email list, thelibertyadvisorshow.com. For all the business stuff I do. I mean, I guess I'll give a plug for that because a lot of people don't even know what I do, but I am a financial advisor who, is recommending crypto early. And as part of it, I have strategies for people that got in early where they could sell and not actually have to, realize any capital gains by doing so. There's, other strategies that I have too, where, essentially, we weathered the, what happened in March, extremely well. I bought put options on the S&P 500, which then protected my clients' portfolios by and large. So we didn't see, gigantic, 30, 40% 8% drops like everybody else. And, you know, I've just been on top of, and now with the Great Reset, I mean, we are managing things differently. And just this past week, I've made a lot of changes to client portfolios. It's not the same strategy that worked last year will not work this year, because the options now cost just a ton of money. They're like 300-400% more expensive, and so the math doesn't work. So, I mean, I am a red-pilled financial advisor that is not just giving out the regular cookie cutter advice. And for people that are good fits for me, who are, you know, libertarians, who are maybe more constitutionalists, people that get it, I'm willing to take them on. I'm not, you know, couching my message to, you know, make sure everybody likes me, because, you know, I'm not trying to work with everybody. And matter of fact, I'm so busy that it's, you know, probably going to take you weeks just to get on my schedule, unless, you know, I happen to know you. And so it is just real frustrating. You know, I also offer, you know, IRAs where you can actually have real crypto inside of your IRA, but that's if you want the actual like crypto IRA, self-directed crypto IRA. I mean, you're probably gonna, you know, have to have like a $250,000 account and be willing to put at least $50,000 on the true self-directed side of things. Or, you know, there's other ways to get you into, but there's, you know, a lot of different caveats and things that I would have to mention that I just don't really have the time for, and honestly don't really want to be necessarily giving away all the secrets of everything we do. But, you know, that you can find that at thelibertyadvisor.com. You can also find that at you know, thelibertyadvisorshow.com. We'll have a link there as well. You know, get on the email list. You know, I've got lots of good, you know, propaganda that I put out, but it's the good kind. I call it the white propaganda, because there's white propaganda, then there's black propaganda, just like there's white hats and black hats. It's not meant to be a racist statement. It's just, you know, calling it out for what it is. But, you know, it's been a good run on here. Had a lot of, you know, met a lot of cool people on here. Had a lot of great arguments. Have pissed off, you know, thousands of people. You know, I've trolled millions. And at this point, it's just really not worth it for me anymore. It's not worth it for my psyche. It's not worth it for my friends and family. It's not even from like a business perspective. It's not really worth it. And so I'm getting off. And if you want to go find me at Flote.app/LibertyAdvisor, I'll be there. You want to find me at YouTube while I'm still there, you can still find me at Tim Picciott with the Liberty Advisor. All those links are at thelibertyadvisorshow.com. So go there. That's where I'm posting videos from now on. We've got non-YouTube links that are going up on different embedded pages, so that way when I'm eventually taken off YouTube, that it's not really going to matter. And, you know, I just want to say, you know, we do have, you know, things always have to get worse before they get better. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to, but, you know, that's just seems to be the way things go. And because we essentially, I don't say we, but because, you know, the first 2 years of the Republicans controlling everything were squandered, we are going to have to go through some tough times. But, you know, tough times don't have to be that tough. You know, get yourself prepared. I mean, I would have some storable food. I'd have some, you know, medical equipment on hand. Probably have some gas masks. You know, find a way to grow your own food if you want. You know, maybe have some spare alcohol as well, which probably reminds me I probably need to go stock up on some because I don't really have too much. You know, have some maybe cash at home. Have some gold and silver at home. Have some Bitcoin that you actually own. You know, have some firearms if it's legal for you to have it. Have some ammo. Practice if you're able to. I mean, these are the basic things. People always ask me, like, hey, I got $5,000. What should I do? Well, do you have storable food? Oh, no, I don't. Well, guess what? I mean, your $5,000, even if it gets turned into 10, isn't going to mean shit if, you know, there's major supply chain disruptions. So, you know, don't say you weren't warned. Don't say we didn't tell you about this stuff. I mean, I was fucking crazy when I bought masks 6 years ago in 2014. And yes, I know it was, you know, later in 2014 when I did it. So it was 6 years ago. And, you know, when I got on thefacebook.com in 2004, things were a lot different. I mean, it was basically a place where we sort of used it like what I guess Twitter is now, and we were sort of using it to, you know, basically, you know, post parties and all, which is funny at the time because we're posting links to all these, you know, like underage parties and stuff that we were throwing at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's been real. It's been, you know, fun little experiment that I was sort of in on the ground floor. now we're in something much better, blockchain technology, which that technology can be used to create different social networks where your message can't be stopped, where things can't be taken down. There's good and bad, like everything else with that. And if you don't know a lot about blockchain technology, I will be coming out with a course that will be from soup to nuts, everything you need to know. I'll be having that at thelibertyadvisor.com. Send me a message. I almost never use Messenger now, so if you want to hit me up on, probably the best thing to do, maybe just want to email me, Tim, T-I-M, at thelibertyadvisor.com. Get yourself on a waiting list for when we get that out. Maybe I'll even, sell it at a discount. It's not gonna be, it's probably like in the $500 to $1,000 range. And maybe we'll have some different options. So maybe we'll have like a $500 option and a $1,000 option, depending on what people need. But it's one of those things where it's gonna be more expensive to not know about it than to actually pay to get into it. And it's also going to be more expensive if you end up getting into it and you end up losing all of your crypto, or you end up getting hacked, or you end up getting part of a phishing attack, or some sort of SIM card swap, or lots of different ways to basically lose all your money when you get down the crypto rabbit hole. And so an investment in knowledge is the best investment. I've spent an absolute incredible amount of time, effort, energy, and resources putting out information for free. This one will not be free because I need to be able to feed my kids, and I'm a free marketer. I am a guy that does believe in capitalism. So I guess my message to everybody is, if blockchain technology is going to change the world, and if you want to be a part of that change, then basically the sooner you find out, the better. And don't go, and this is not investment advice, but don't go and just throw all of your money at Bitcoin. Definitely don't go throw all your money at some shit coin and some 0.00001 cent thing because some guy told you if it just gets to $1, you're going to be a billionaire. I mean, that's the easiest way to lose all your money. But man, lots of good things are going on in my life, so I don't want to make it seem like, woe is me, because, I've pretty much never been happier. And I guess, this would be, kind of a prophetic time. Well, hopefully it's not prophetic. Definitely don't want this to be prophetic because I'm putting out good energy to the universe, but, not suicidal. Never been happier. I mean, I've got lots of freedom right now. Lots of things are going great. And, I basically, couldn't be happier with, a lot of things going on in my life right now. So, under no circumstance, anything that happens to me, I'd want to investigate it, because I am, talking about a lot of stuff that people don't want to talk about. I mean, the central banking issue is the most important aspect there is. And we see little kids over there riding their bike with masks and no helmets, like fucking idiots. I almost just want to say something. Riding his bike with one hand, with no helmet and a mask. The height of stupidity. Okay, so everything's going great. Would never do anything to jeopardize everything I've got going on right now. And definitely appreciate everyone out there, and appreciate everyone that's followed me over the years. I know a lot of people have hit me up, privately, and told me that, hey, they love all the stuff I'm saying, and they're a little bit too afraid to say it themselves. And so, it does help. And so, appreciate everyone that has done that throughout the years. But anyways, it's time for me to sign off Facebook after 16 years. And I would say see you guys later, but I won't be seeing you guys later. So if you do want to see me later, you can find me at Flote.app/thelibertyadvisor. And this is my last message to all of you. And fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. And Twitter too. Fuck you, Jack Dorsey, as well. I already got off Twitter.